Good morning, John Kiriakou. Or
Hey, sorry, trying to get myself situated here.
me
I
too.
have I
We
have
have a
my
brand new
phone.
intro that I couldn't even play because I couldn't find it. So we're all trying to get ourselves situated. That's just how
Yeah,
it is now.
we are.
Welcome to DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou for Halloween, October 31st, 2025. Please like, follow, and share the show. Just a reminder, we are here deprogramming you from the mainstream BS Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And we are going to be here every single day of next week as well. So please tune in. Just want to say this is the end of the month, so we keep track of the all the metrics, and all the numbers are still improving month
Yeah,
after month. And so thank you. That's thanks to you guys. But we can't do it without your support, financial and otherwise. So thanks for that. You guys are incredibly generous, and it means the world to us. John, we have lots to talk about today.
yeah. There's a lot of craziness going on today, and for a Friday, I always say I got this from the agency when I was at the agency that Friday.
Ooh, we just lost John Kiriakou. So John is overseas. He's finishing out the week. I don't think it's a secret. They're in Iberia, and he will be back home this weekend. There's John. We'll put him back on.
I have no idea what that was all about. So
I blame ICE and
yeah.
Israel.
Why not? Yes, Israel too. So I was saying Fridays at the CIA were always very, very slow because everything's closed in the Middle East on either Thursday and Friday or Friday and Saturday, depending on the country that you're in. They have different weekends. And that sort of bled into the United States too. It's usually quieter on a Friday. Congress is usually not in session. Even when they're in session, they're going home on Thursday nights. But man, there is so much to talk about today. It's busy, and none of it is good news. I hate to say.
No, that's true. And I'll just go through, I'll run it through so everybody knows what to expect. So obviously we're talking about the looming deadline tomorrow about SNAP benefits as well as the Affordable Care Act subsidies. All everything hits the wall this weekend. Not that Congress much seems to care. They
Yeah.
have the House has had the month off, and the Senate has the weekend off. They're like, well, what, me worry? Anyway, we'll get into that. Trump's polls among young voters have absolutely fallen off a cliff. And I don't
Yeah.
mean in the last 5 years. I mean, literally in just a matter of months, Gen Z voters, which is people under 30, have gone from 50% approval to 20% approval from February to October. I don't know that I don't think Richard Nixon suffered such a drop off in 1974.
No.
That was more
And,
gradual.
and he's concerned because yesterday he said that his poll numbers have never been higher and his poll numbers may be at a record high for any president in American history.
I mean, all true except for not being attached to reality at all. Yeah, and by the way, it's not just the Gen Z. I know people are watching and saying, but people under 30 don't vote. And that's true. But this is also true about 30 somethings, and they do vote. And they've also been voting more and more. The Defense Department admitted in a classified briefing that they don't know who they're blowing up in the Caribbean. That's even some Republican congressmen are starting to question whether that's such a great thing. And
Yeah,
of
they're
course,
admitting that they're serial killers.
yes, they are.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. They're
They're
serial
mass
killers.
murderers. They're
Yeah.
random murderers. Although
Mhm.
I have to say, John, if you were a Venezuelan fisherman, might you not? I know you have to make a living, but might you not decide to take like a 2, 3, 6 week vacation right now?
Yeah, I would. Hey, and can I add something else? Talking about killing Venezuelans and poll numbers and protesters and all this stuff. Yeah, I mentioned offhandedly last week that that Stephen Miller lives in Arlington, Virginia, where I live. He lives walking distance from my house, and people have been going over there for weeks and writing mean things in chalk on the sidewalk in front of his house. And there's nothing he can do about it because the sidewalk is public. It's public thoroughfare. You can do whatever you want. So he abruptly sold his house for $2.3 million. It's a nice house. And moved. They never told us where he moved until today. I
Oh boy.
mentioned to you that I read this hyper local website for local news called arlingtonnow.com. Arlingtonnow.com says it's not just Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth, and Kristi Noem all moved onto Fort Myer Army Base
What?
that abuts. Yep. And they moved into housing that is reserved for 1 to 4-star generals. All three of them and their families. So
I
nobody.
mean, talk about gated community. That's the
I'll say
mother of all gated communities.
that's a great way to say it. It's the mother of all gated communities. And I'll tell you what, before 9/11, because my wife and I were both GS-15s, we were allowed membership in the Officers Club at Fort Myer. So we used to go bowling, have a beer, have a burger. We'd go to the pool in the summer. Then 9/11 hit, and you need a DOD ID showing that you're either a general who lives there or that you are assigned to the base. So I haven't been on that base since 9/11, but they're just allowed to move into homes reserved for 3 and 4-star generals, and we're all supposed to just nod our heads.
Well, what happens when Trump gets sick of them and fires them, or just
Yeah.
let's assume we ever have another Democratic president again?
Yeah.
Not 100% certain. What happens then?
I guess we throw them out on their asses.
and then they have to put up with the chalk remarks on their sidewalk. The chalk.
People are such
If you chalk the
meanies.
sidewalks, the terrorists have won.
Yeah, exactly. Chalk, big babies.
Thank you very much, Gregory Batista, for the very generous $20 donation over on YouTube. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. We've got some questions coming in on the Rumble feed too, so we should get to some of those. And good morning to everybody who favorite Halloween candy. FU so wants to know. Mine. I don't really like candies, but I remain partial to chocolate. I like milk chocolate or dark chocolate the best, especially like the heavy salted kind. But they didn't really do that in Ohio in the 1970s. And I also what were those things called? I liked Lifesavers. Those things.
Yeah,
I'm a boring person.
I like chocolate. I prefer dark chocolate, but I also like milk chocolate. Honestly, I'll eat anything that calls itself chocolate, except the white chocolate. I don't like that at all.
TSTC024 has a question too, John.
Yeah, sure.
Have we seen what's going on in Sudan with the civil war that's going on? 20 to 60,000 killed so far. What are our guys' thoughts? I mean, that's a very underreported story, including by us. We've been remiss.
Very, very. I was watching coverage this morning on this French channel that I've been telling you about, France 24 it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And the video from Sudan it's just epically brutal. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of bodies just laying, in the fields or laying in this hospital parking lot. The government, a government affiliated militia attacked civilians day before yesterday, killed at least 624 people just in cold blood. It was a massacre. It's a crime against humanity is what it is.
John, reminds me a little bit of the underreported civil war in Tajikistan in the 90s.
Yeah.
A lot of people died. By some accounts, a quarter to a third of the population. There were massacres, ethnic massacres all the time. They ran out of bullets at one point, and so they would tie people together with ropes and throw them into rivers and drown them all together. It was like one of their things. And the similarity with Sudan is that these were proxy wars that were funded by outsiders, and as long as the money kept coming in, the war went on. But eventually, the proxy sponsors, which included the Taliban and the U.S. and Russia and China, basically all lost interest in Tajikistan, and they stopped funding it. And then basically there was a power sharing agreement, and they had a fragile peace. And now they've really climbed out of the hole.
Yeah, they have.
It took a long time, but they were in a deep hole. Sudan feels like that, right? Isn't like so?
Yeah.
The Rapid Support Forces, which is a breakaway part of the government, it's just a civil conflict within the government. They're supported by the UAE. They're financed by the UAE, right? And the government of Sudan is supported by, is it Qatar or who is?
Yeah, it was Saudi Arabia, I think.
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So there seems to be is there a Wahhabi component to this conflict?
I would personally have called Hassan Turabi a Wahhabi, and the leaders of Sudan today are sort of the ideological descendants of Hassan Turabi. So I would say, yeah, there probably is a Wahhabi component to this. He was a fundamentalist by anybody's definition of fundamentalism.
John, I think we should spend a little bit of our weekend reading up on checking up on Sudan and doing a deeper dive next week, because we owe everyone on DeProgram that.
And I think we owe people a discussion about Nigeria as well. There's a lot of bad stuff going on in Nigeria right now.
All right, Sub-Saharan Africa it is next week. Efuso, thank you for the donation. Happy Pumpkin Day to you as well. I am a great pumpkin believer. As a huge fan of peanuts, of course, so am I as well. All right, so John, we have this panoply of stories to choose from. What would you like to get into first?
Ted, if you don't mind, I'd like to start at the end and talk about prospects for Pakistani troops to be sent to Gaza.
Let's do it.
It sounds nuts, and it actually makes a little bit of sense. And the reason is, while Pakistan is Muslim, it has always kept the Arab-Israeli conflict at arm's length, because the Pakistanis are not Arabs. They're Pakistanis. And so they have enough problems, let alone to have to worry about what's happening in Palestine as well. So now there are rumors that both the Israelis and the Saudis are saying, what about Pakistan? Now, this makes a lot of sense to me from the Saudi perspective, because Saudi Arabia and Pakistan are joined at the hip like this. They love each other. And the Pakistanis make up the vast majority of the Saudi military. So to send Pakistanis to Gaza might actually work out. They're Muslims, so they should have the respect of the Gaza Palestinians, and vice versa. They would show respect to the Gaza Palestinians because they understand the culture and the religion. And they would sort of take the air out of Hamas's sails, which is exactly what the Israelis want. I haven't seen any comment by the United States on this, but I think this might be a good idea.
Well, so the rumors that are floating are that they're talking about 20,000 troops. That's a lot. Of course, it is a place where 2.2 million people used to live and 1.7 million people still live. So it's not that much. But it's still a good sized group. This has supposedly been brokered between the ISI and Mossad. What's the relationship like?
Well, there was a formal relationship as recently as 1979, but there is no formal relationship since then. Like I say, they don't have a lot. They don't have a lot to do with each other in day-to-day world events, but they're not at each other's throats. The Pakistanis are worried about the Indians. And to a slightly lesser extent, they're worried about the Afghans. They don't have time to worry about the Israelis. And the Israelis have never seen Pakistan as a threat to Israel. They'll offer vocal support for the Arabs, but it ends there with vocal support. That's it.
So better than anyone, there are many different kinds of Muslims, right? So
absolutely.
So the Palestinian Muslims, particularly the ones in Gaza, how are they going to relate to their Muslim brothers from South Asia? I mean, not to mention, aren't they going to be seen as an occupation force that is doing the bidding of the Zionist entity?
There's always the possibility that that would be the case. But the Gaza Palestinians are Sunni Muslims. The Pakistanis are almost entirely Sunni Muslims, handful of Shia, but they tend not to be in the military because they can't get promoted. So that might be enough. I was thinking about this when I first heard about it, and I was thinking, well, the alternative would have been troops from Tahiti, right? We've talked about how, or from Fiji, we talk about how these Pacific islands provide so many peacekeeping forces, and it's a major source of income for them. It makes up a great part of their budget. Um, they're cultural strangers, the people from the South Pacific. At least the Pakistanis would understand Islam, would respect, Palestinian women, all the stuff that non-Muslim peacekeeping forces over the years have been
Will
accused of ignoring.
will not get.
Yeah.
So I mean, but what if they're perceived as, I mean, if this is being framed as an ISI Mossad deal, anything that's seen as being related to Israel is obviously as toxic as it can possibly get right
Yeah.
now.
But if the Saudis weigh in and endorse it, I think that'll be good enough.
The Saudis aren't being viewed as, I mean, aren't the Saudis being viewed as feckless by the Palestinians? I mean, given the fact that they
Well,
were before October 7th. I mean, if October 7th hadn't happened,
yeah.
right now, there
Yeah,
might be an Israeli
there'd be a
ambassador in Riyadh.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The Bahrainis, the Emiratis, the Tunisians, the Moroccans, even the Sudanese are indeed seen as feckless because they caved and joined these so-called Abraham Accords. You're right. If there hadn't been an October 7th, there probably would be an Israeli ambassador in Riyadh and a Saudi ambassador, at least in Tel Aviv, if not in Jerusalem. But there isn't. And so I think the Palestinians would probably hang on that.
And then what about, obviously the denials are coming out of Islamabad.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm sure you're like me. There are denials, and then
Yeah.
there are denials. And this is not a denial. This is like we have no such plans, which of course means you could be working on it, indeed have plans, but you don't, you can still credibly say until you've pulled the trigger and the prime minister has signed off, it's not really a plan. It's just something we're discussing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Of course, Pakistan's probably the most rumor-tastic country in the world.
Oh my God, listen, I gave an interview to an Indian outlet last week. All hell has broken loose in South Asia. I have more death threats than
Oh
I
my
can shake
God.
a stick at. And then the what's his name? Imran Khan's party issued a formal statement demanding that I apologize to Imran Khan, I apologize to the party, and I apologize to the Pakistani people. And they want it in writing by the end of the day today. And I told them, and please forgive me, but I told them that I wiped my ass with their apology, and that's as good as they're getting. And then the death threats came in.
Shocking. I
Yeah,
can't say
well,
I'm
fuck
surprised,
them.
but I would definitely have someone else who you don't like start your car in the morning. $20 donation. Thank you so much from Unsung Pat. Just talking a little bit back to, back a little echo on Sudan. Starvation, one of the oldest weapons of war. Plus poor plus desperation equals a powder keg / napalm. Just need a match. Looting Sudan, 700 days of conflict, right? 2 years. Civilians starving, something Irish heritage knows well. $1 donation from FUSO. Thank you so much. Thoughts on Candace Owen coverage of the Egyptian plane with the Charlie Kirk assassination? John, do you have such thoughts? I don't.
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay.
Do
All right.
you know anything about it?
No. I was hoping you did.
No, I'm sorry. That
All
one
right.
I've missed.
Maybe FUSO can elaborate a little bit in the chat,
Yeah.
and we'll try to figure that out. Also, thank you so much over on YouTube for the €5 donation from Rodden Goo 9864 regarding the
Thank you.
Cameroon situation. Man, it is all about
Yeah.
sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah, it's dire over there.
Aside from being, do these crises have anything in common? I mean, is there a economic or agricultural thing going on right now in Africa?
Cameroon less so than Chad, Mali, and Nigeria. Chad, Mali, and Nigeria, it's Al Qaeda and its associated groups, Boko Haram. They're just slaughtering people, especially Christians. And what they've been doing is just going into schools and opening fire. They're kidnapping some of the children and opening fire on the adults, the teachers and administrators, or they'll herd people into churches and then set the churches on fire and then shoot anybody who tries to escape from the burning church. It's
Lovely.
not a good situation. And
Mm,
it's not being covered in the American media for some reason.
no, not at all, for sure. Question from also from a donor, Zoe La Rosa 211. Thanks for the $2. Will Pakistan help Hamas though?
Well, that's a good question. It's a legitimate question, and the consensus is that they won't, because the Pakistanis do as the Saudis tell them to do. And if the Saudis tell them you're going to go and be peacekeepers, and by being peacekeepers, you're also going to help Gazan society get back on its feet, and you've
Mm.
got to protect the Palestinians from Hamas, then that's what they'll do.
Won't Hamas just roll Afghan style? I mean, they can't melt into the mountains because there are no mountains. But I mean, they're completely fully embedded in civilian society. I mean, you might be a Hamas fighter all throughout the
Yeah,
last
and
2 years, and then be a school teacher during the
right.
conflict after the conflict is over, and you bide your time and you wait for the call from your commander.
Of course, they don't carry identity cards that say Hamas on it. Right?
Right.
These are just regular normal people who have their own roles in society besides being Hamas fighters.
And
Again, if
they
you
might
haven't
even go
seen,
work for the Pakistanis, right? I mean, like I met a
they very
guy
well could.
in Afghanistan in 2010, and he saw no conflict between the fact that during the day he worked for the Northern Alliance government of Hamid Karzai as an irrigation expert, and at night he would go out with the Taliban and blow up irrigation canals. It's the great cycle of life for these people. There's no conflict in that.
Oh my God Almighty. We have a question too about Kimberly Guilfoyle. She arrives tomorrow in Athens as the U.S. ambassador to Greece. The Greek media, at least, is very excited about this. I will say that the Greek American press is not excited about this. But with that said, for reasons that I will never understand, Donald Trump seems to love Greece, and Greece seems to love Donald Trump. And it doesn't matter if Mitsotakis is the prime minister, or if there's a socialist or Euro-communist prime minister. Trump has gotten along with all of the prime ministers that Greece has had during the Trump presidency. And, Greece has had a mix over the years of career diplomats who have been ambassador and political appointees who have been ambassador. And they like it when the ambassador has a direct line to the president.
Mm.
So, would I have chosen Kimberly Guilfoyle? Of course not. But she is, a practiced, seasoned attorney, former U.S. attorney or assistant U.S. attorney, and she's got a direct line to Trump. So we'll see how the next 3 years go.
Zizis Karagianis, thank you so much for the $29.99 Australian dollars. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. So just like scrolling through. All right. So that's so strange. There are two shows going on, one on screen, one in chat. Oh, well, that's true. So anyway, well, that's always true in the Rumble feed. Sometimes the Rumble feed has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And I'm like, do you guys even watch? I mean, hey, we're happy to be here, but what are we, chopped liver? All right. So I guess the thing is, let's put this onto the how likely o meter. I mean, I think, first of all, if there is an international peacekeeping force, then I could see this being a 40% chance this could happen. I don't think there's going to be an international peacekeeping force, but
I don't think the Israelis will allow it.
they don't want peace.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
And
look
did
at
you
what they've
see
been doing.
today?
We should talk about how they've been fucking up the ceasefire.
Yeah. Did you see today? The Washington Post reported that that in a classified briefing yesterday, the State Department said that they have confirmed Israeli atrocities against Palestinian civilians.
Yep.
There have been so many of them that they haven't been able to go through all the different atrocities that have been committed. So why would the Israelis want outsiders, especially outside Muslims, to come in and be the peacekeepers when they're
Hell, they're
just going
still
to?
not even allowing the media in, right? And
No.
it's amazing to me. I mean, what do you make of the fact that American media organizations aren't complaining and saying, like, look, you guys didn't let us in during the war, and you should have. But right now, there's this active ceasefire brokered by the United States president, and you're still not letting American reporters in. You know, they're chomping at the bit. I
Yep.
mean, I'd go. I mean, like, so, like, what's the deal?
Yep. Exactly right. If they're not going to let American journalists in, they're not going to let Pakistani troops in.
Yeah, yeah.
Although,
And
like
well,
I
and they don't
say,
want
I think it
American
would be a good
journalists in there
idea.
because the mass graves are being dug up right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. It's not good.
all right. I guess we probably, while we're on this track, do you want to talk about the Southern Caribbean?
Yeah. Let's do that. Another place where all you can do is shake your head right now.
Yeah. So we all know what's been going on with it. I mean, first of all, I'm not really clear on how these attacks are supposed to be pressuring President Maduro. I
No.
mean, if I'm President Maduro, of course, I'm displeased that my nationals are being blown up like they're going out of season. But,
Right.
I mean, how is that like really making him think, oh, I should step out, I should step away, I should run away, go into exile? I don't see it. Why?
No, no, I agree with you. This is a stupid policy. And now we have confirmed what we always suspected is that nobody even knows if these people are drug runners or if these are drug boats. They're probably just innocent fishermen. You know, these bodies washed up in Trinidad and Tobago last week, or pieces of bodies washed up
Hmm.
apparently from boats that the Pentagon bombed, and they appear to be just Trinidadian fishermen.
Can you
Uh,
imagine being at the
eh,
beach, like with your family, and then,
Seriously,
someone's leg washes
a
up?
leg. Yeah, exactly. Another thing too is the U.S. has long accused Maduro of drug trafficking. I think I mentioned to you I did an investigation when I was the senior investigator in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And part of that investigation was drug trafficking through Venezuela. There is some drug trafficking through Venezuela. That is not to say that Maduro controls it or even has any idea when and where it's happening. What it is Colombian drug planes landing in Venezuela to, pick up, to drop off, unload, who knows, and then continuing on to Africa. It's it's not clear cut like the administration wants you to think it is. And then we had this news from earlier in the week that the CIA tried to recruit Maduro's pilot so that were Maduro to flee ostensibly for Cuba, the plane, instead of landing in Havana, would land in Key West, and the DEA would grab him and then take him to Miami, just like we did to Noriega, and charge him with international drug trafficking.
By the way, why not, out of curiosity, if you're involved in regime change, what do you give a shit where the deposed ruler goes? Why do you
I know,
care if
right?
they go to fucking Havana or Russia or Saudi Arabia or Nigeria or I mean, why isn't it like, what is the point of a Noriega situation? I still don't even
Yeah,
understand what Bush got out of it.
I think it's a trophy to put him on
Mm.
trial and to say that you captured him. I was talking about this with Doug McGregor a couple of days ago, Colonel Doug McGregor, who's very, very, very conservative, but in a libertarian kind of way. and he said that Maduro's not stupid. First of all, he's not going to go anywhere unless the United States physically invades Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, he's not stupid enough to go to Cuba, that
Mm-hmm.
he will likely have arranged in advance to get to Moscow.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Now,
makes more
can he
sense.
make it to Moscow without being intercepted by
Right.
America or its numerous allies?
That's
It's a
the
long
question.
trip.
It's a long trip.
You can ask. We can ask. Ed Snowden about how perilous that trip can be.
Yeah, thank God that he did not make it to Ecuador.
So the Trump administration is asking us to, basically believe something that we know isn't true and can't be true. They say that 70% of overdoses in the United States are directly attributable to fentanyl that is processed from a cocaine that originates in Venezuela. And that's just not how it works.
No,
that's what they said.
No, that's not true. That's just simply not true. No.
But I guess they're counting on people not really knowing about this.
Good
And then
Lord. I got to Google that while we're talking because that's preposterous.
And then congressmen, this was what they said. And then like both Democrats and some Republicans are starting to ask questions, like from the Defense or War Department or whatever the fuck it's called now. They went into they had this classified briefing. They're supposed to be told exactly what's going on, and the DOD admitted we literally don't know who we're killing.
No, they don't know. They don't have any idea.
So how can there be any legal basis for that?
Yeah, it's just murder, plain and simple.
Do you think anyone will ever? Do you think like if we had like a President AOC that anyone would ever be held accountable? I mean, no one was ever held accountable for CIA torture. No. Obama made sure of that within a day or two of taking office.
Yep, exactly.
No one's ever held accountable. That's just how that works. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
No one's ever held accountable. Hey, I'm looking at the DEA's fact sheet on fentanyl right here. And fentanyl is not made from cocaine.
No.
Period. It's mixed with cocaine and with every other drug that's out there. Cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine. It's mixed with everything. You can even put it in a nasal spray. 42% of all pills confiscated at the border contain fentanyl. 42%.
That's insane.
Yeah. And it says 42% of all pills tested for fentanyl contained at least 2 milligrams of fentanyl, which is considered to be a lethal dose.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, no, I mean, well, this is like, I mean, it's like if you remember of course, obviously in the 80s, angel, when drugs would be spiked with angel dust to make them PCP, to make it a little more interesting, quote unquote. I don't know, the drug. I mean, I knew quite a few serious drug addicts at that time, and I don't think they were ever needing or desiring that. I mean, honestly, it was a flaw in the marketplace, and I don't mean to be dry about that. I just don't think it's something that drug users really wanted. Drug users want to know what they're getting.
Yeah, they do.
Just like any other consumers.
My brother-in-law died of a fentanyl overdose.
Oh, wow.
And, he didn't mean to. He thought he was just going to smoke some meth like he smoked every day. And 15 minutes later, he was dead. And that was it. Jesus. Yeah, 36 years old.
Jesus. What a horrible. I hate drugs.
Terrible.
So, well, let's talk about, should we move on to the domestic situation?
Sure thing.
All right. So tomorrow's November 1st. People are going to start losing their health care, and poor people. I guess the question is, does anyone care about poor people? But 42 million Americans are going to lose their food stamps / SNAP benefits. Republicans, they might be singing a different tale, but you and I both know they're scared to death. There's that poll we talked about. It's the latest YouGov Economist poll that shows 20% of adults under age 30 liked Donald Trump a lot. 50% liked him a lot back in February. Now only 20% like him. And even and those numbers are not quite as dramatic, but pretty damn dramatic for the 30-something crowd, the millennials. Obviously, like you said, we know the president's nervous. So the big takeaway here is, just now, Donald Trump is calling for the nuclear option. So not nuclear weapons or nuclear powered missiles, but
big.
By the way, I want to thank the listener who pointed out that nuclear powered missiles don't have to be nuclear weapons themselves.
Right.
That's very true. We weren't clear about that yesterday.
Yeah, that's true.
And so they want to get rid of the filibuster. For foreign viewers, the U.S. Senate has a rule that goes back, that's been controversial for a long time, that says that basically you can keep the Senate in session, and basically you can't really truly close the deal unless you get 60%, not a simple majority of the vote. You need 60. You need 60 seats, not 50. 60 votes, not 50 votes. And basically, what that allows is a minority in the Senate to gum up the works. Traditionally, that's been the Republicans, but certainly Democrats are doing it now, and that's why we have a shutdown. Donald Trump basically is calling for the end of the filibuster. That would have some dramatic long-term political implications. I want to be clear, Democrats started this shit when they pulled the nuclear option on Trump's on the Democratic Obama's judicial nominations. And they said, oh, don't worry, Republicans will never get to avail themselves of this because Democrats will literally be in power forever. They literally said that. You can look it up.
I want to punch the corpse of Harry Reid right in the face. That was his idea.
Idiot. Fucking idiot.
Yeah.
So, like, the point is...
Did you see the interview today that John Fetterman did with CNN?
Oh, no. I try to avoid that, speaking of drug addicts.
He's another one I want to punch in the face. He said that Democrats have to stop acting like children and just vote for this budget.
But then, okay, so John Fetterman, who has health issues, should be able to relate to people who have health issues, who need health insurance.
You would think.
And so, the dude had a stroke. If you have a stroke, so I have a cartoonist colleague. About a month ago, he's a little younger than me. He had a stroke. His entire right side is paralyzed.
Yes.
He's about to become homeless. He posted on Facebook that he has no idea where he's going to go. Yeah. That the rehab is about to throw him out on the street. He has no one to take him in or take care of him.
And there are reports
he can't work.
Right. Exactly. So then what? With the rest
you throw a dude with the right side of his body doesn't work. John, you know what I would do? I would literally I would be one of those nonviolent bank robbers where, people have done this. They I need to go to prison, so I have a place to stay. And they walk into the bank and they say, please give me all your money. And then they wait patiently for the police to arrive. And they say, I needed to be arrested. Please take me to prison because I would be homeless. I have no way out.
I think I told you that one of my cellmates, he was the last one of my cellmates to move in. He was from Pittsburgh, nice guy, perfectly normal, totally normal guy. And I asked him what he was in for. And he said, that he had a conviction years ago and he had already done his time. But every year at the start of winter, he intentionally violates his probation so that he can spend the winters in jail, in prison. He said that he otherwise lives in a tent along the Ohio River. And, it's cold in Pittsburgh. And so he intentionally violates. He gets sent back for 6 months. And he says, I get 3 meals a day, I get a warm bed, and I get free medical care. So better to be in prison than in a tent, in a van down by the river, as the old Saturday Night Live skit goes.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's. I think your old, colleague, your old buddy. Smart guy.
Yeah,
he's a smart guy. He's working a fucked up system.
Yeah, you know what he did? He was one of these carnies He ran the carnival rides. They're all convicts,
Awesome.
and most of them are pedophiles. So he was
Great.
selling drugs from the carnival, and because he was crossing state lines, going from state to state to state, selling drugs, it was a federal charge. So he did 7 years, and he gets 10 years probation, and so every winter he just violates, so he can get back in.
I mean, okay, so John, I'm glad that the conversation went in this way, because this is really the big question I wanted to ask you. So here's the thing: it's a factoid now, but this crisis reminds
Incredible.
us, and 1 out of every 8 Americans is on food stamps. In some states, it's 1 out of 4. Ironically, Republican
Incredible.
states. And
Yeah, of course
I'm
they
not
are.
one of those people who's like, well, you get what you deserve because you voted for these people. We don't even know that. Those people might have all voted Democratic, right? But the
Yeah.
point is, what does it say? I mean, how can you be rah rah USA #1? What a great country we have. Let's tell other countries, let's share our values so that they can have 1/8 of their country living in abject poverty. By the way, this is not the whole state of poverty, right? There's lots of people who are working poor, who don't qualify for food stamps, or don't want them, don't apply for it.
Mhm.
There's lots of people who are too marginal and sleeping like outside, who are not in the system also. So this is just a subset of the poverty in this country, which is really more like
Yeah.
1 out of 4.
Yeah.
So people are, I mean, 1 out of 8 Americans is on food stamps. To me, I would be like, what the fuck is wrong with our country? If I'm a
Yeah.
congressman or a senator, why are we not doing anything? Why is that like not a statistic that just makes like Donald Trump himself say, what the fuck? Why does that
Yeah.
not make John Fetterman say, what the fuck? Why does that not
And
make
John Fetterman,
Lester
John
Holt say,
Fetterman
what the fuck?
should say what the fuck, because he was the mayor of Braddock, Pennsylvania, which is one of the poorest, most crime-ridden cities in the entire state of Pennsylvania. He knows better. Ted, in 2011, sorry, 2012, in January, I was arrested in mid-January, and just 1 week after my arrest, I was sitting at the dining room table with my wife, and she had a calculator. And then she looked up at me and she said, I don't see how we can afford to buy food next week.
Jesus.
And I said, are we in that bad a shape already? And she said, yeah, everything that we have, we gave to the lawyers last week. And I don't think we have enough money for food. So the next day, we went to the welfare office in Arlington County, and we qualified for literally everything, including a $90 monthly cash supplement because she was breastfeeding. And we had 2 kids at home. And I still had 2 other kids that I'm paying child support for at the time. So we were on food stamps for 9 months, until she finally found a job in October of that year.
And thank
And
God for that.
yeah. So Fetterman knows better. Fetterman should know better. Fetterman should be saying exactly the opposite of what he's been saying, and not just, yesterday and today with CNN, but really for the past 2 years. And if he's not going to help poor people feed their families, then maybe it's time to primary this guy.
Well, and also, I mean, the Republican posture, I mean, even if you're working 55 hours a week and you don't follow all the details, right? I mean, you hear the Republicans say, agree to our plan and then we will negotiate with you afterwards. Everyone knows that's not how anything works, right? It's
That's
like,
right.
so, I mean, I guess the only exception to that is if you go into the hospital to get a operation, because it's going to cost whatever they bill you, and they don't tell you in advance. If you're like, hey, how much is this appendectomy is going to be?
Right.
They literally can't tell you. They literally
No.
won't tell you. It's literally like,
That's right.
it's like you get the bill and you pay. Tough shit.
That's
Sucks
it.
to be you.
That's it.
If you have to ask, you can't afford it.
Yep, that is it. Unsung Pat is making an important point here that in 1973, the wealth gap was the smallest and the middle class was the strongest. First of all, God bless Richard Nixon and his economic policy, number one. Number two, Starting with Dwight Eisenhower and going through Nixon, tax rates were the highest
Hmm.
against the wealthiest people. And so, I mean, of course, you had the same write-offs and such that we see today, but the basic tax rate for the wealthiest people was upwards of 75%, and they could whittle it down from there. Well, now they pay almost nothing to begin with and whittle it down from there. And then we
Yeah,
can't understand why our deficits are so enormous and why there's such a wealth gap. That's
John,
why there's a wealth gap.
I'm glad you brought up Richard Nixon, who, just to be clear, was exactly the kind of president who I was supposed to and did hate at the time. But
Exactly.
honestly, I remember wage and price controls. My mother was making $8,500 a year as a school teacher, and the price of sugar was $5 for 5 pounds, which was
Right.
a lot at the
A
time.
lot. I remember the sugar crisis
And
in the
when wage and
70s.
price controls kicked in, thanks to Richard Nixon, my mom said, "I hate that man. I hate the Vietnam War. I hate him. But he saved my life. I don't know how we
Yeah.
would survive if not for
Yeah.
these price controls." There's a conspiracy theory. I'm sure you've heard it. It's actually, kind of percolates pretty high into among historians that Watergate was really kind of orchestrated by the corporate powers that be as a sort of coup d'etat to get
Yeah.
rid of Richard Nixon because they were
Yeah.
so pissed about wage and price
Wage
controls.
and price controls. One of my earliest memories, my dad came home one day. I think I was 4. My dad came home one day and he said to my mom, "Honey, I got a raise." And she said, "You did?" And he shows her this letter, and he was making $6,800 a year. And then I remember my mom saying, "Just imagine, honey, if you could make 7,000, we'd be on Easy Street."
John, I was in a similar situation. I made $10,000 a year working at Bear Stearns in 1984, 85 as a trader trainee. And I calculated that if my boss cut my pay by $12 a month, $12 a pay period, that I could get food stamps. I called the food stamp office. So I went to my boss and I asked him to cut my pay. And he was like, "Get the fuck out of my office."
That's fantastic.
But we were all so snotty about it. He would come around with the paychecks, the paper paychecks, and it's like, here you go, blah blah blah. And there were guys who'd be like, drop it in the trash, like it's not worth waiting in line at the bank.
I remember that too, that they used to, even at the CIA, they would just come with our paychecks and flip them upside down and leave them on our chairs.
Yeah.
I remember a couple things about the CIA, not to get too far off the subject, but I was talking to a former CIA colleague of mine, and I said, when I started at the CIA, you could smoke at your desk. And then, like, after a year, they made designated smoking areas.
Thank
So
God.
all the managers made their offices designated smoking areas.
Wow.
And
So,
then,
so smoking was that big then?
oh, it was that big, yeah. And then there's a barber in the basement of the CIA. And when I first joined, I was like, oh, I might as well just go get a haircut at the CIA barber instead of going halfway across town. And I went down there, and they had Playboys and penthouses all over the barber shop inside the CIA.
That's so it's like a whole city in there, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It
And do
is.
do people avail themselves of like the dry cleaner or whatever?
Oh yeah, yeah. Everybody does. There's even a little post office substation in there, so you don't have to go into town to mail stuff.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah, it's great. I used to use it all the time.
God, the postal office. Don't even fucking get me started there. It's like, what a fucking disaster. And I'm really on team post office too. And like, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
my sister's husband is a mailman, and he finally retired in March. He said the place is just in chaos. He just can't do it anymore. He did 30 years. That's the end of it.
Yeah, I do not blame. I forget. Phrasmataz says, I forgot which president, but Nixon called it closing the gold standard, gold window or whatever was a consequence of a 1960s president doing some other econ policy change. Can't remember what it specifically. I thought it was 1973, right?
Yeah,
When
it
Nixon.
was Nixon. Yeah, I remember gold was like 35 an ounce or 38
Yeah,
an
it
ounce.
was set at
Something.
$35 an
Yeah.
ounce.
Yep.
I wish I'd bought
I know, right?
I wish
Oh
I'd
my
just.
God.
Well, I mean, I was 10 years old. I had a paper route. I could have bought gold.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Man. All right.
What else are you
So
talking about?
yeah. Oh, Frasmataz says I don't even blame him for Watergate. DNC deserved it, and Bob Woodward is a Navy intel non-journalist, but spying on Pentagon Papers. Guy Ellsberg, true American patriot, I think is what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
Autocorrect. I hate autocorrect. I have
I
a
do too.
colleague who is a very famous lesbian cartoonist. If you know anything about cartooning, you know who I'm talking about. And well, I'll just tell you, it's Alison Bechtel, she of the Bechtel test. She did Fun Home.
Wow.
And anyway, so I was texting her about something, and I literally used the word pencil. As a cartoonist, you use the word pencil, and it autocorrected. Thank God! Before I hit send, I caught it before I hit send to penis, and I'm like, I do not want to be the guy who texts the word penis like, "Hey, did you check out my penis?"
Oh,
to
yeah, oh my
Alison Bechtel.
God. Oh
And
my
by the way,
God.
why does autocorrect think that penis is a more often used word than
I
pencil?
know, right?
I mean, I don't think so.
Oh,
I mean,
oh
anyway.
my God.
So yeah, what's I mean, obviously we're heading into this. Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the nuclear option. So what would be
Yeah.
how would that look? How could the filibuster be eliminated? Ironically, couldn't the Democrats filibuster that, or could it be? These are a
No,
parliamentary maneuver.
no, yeah, it's a decision made solely by the majority leader. There doesn't have to be a vote on it because it's not a law, it's an internal rule. And this was what was so dangerous when Harry Reid lifted the filibuster, used the nuclear option on judges. He said, "Well, it's going to be fine," but he wouldn't listen to reason when people said, "Wait a minute, the Republicans are going to be able to force through their judges if you use the nuclear option now." No, no, it's going to be fine. They're never going to be in the majority ever again because we're so great. And then, of course, the Republicans took the Senate. If Donald Trump demands that John Thune use the nuclear option, and he does it, Donald Trump is going to get his budget for a year or two, or even three, maybe. But when the Democrats control the White House and the Senate, and it's going to happen because it always does, the Democrats are going to be able to do anything they want. So this is an extraordinarily short-sighted pronouncement from Donald Trump that Thune has to use the nuclear option.
Will
Now,
he do it?
Thune, I doubt it. Thune is not a big Trump fan. He'll say the right things to keep the MAGA people off his back, but he's not a big fan of Trump. And Thune has a better historical understanding of why the Senate needs to keep the filibuster. It's to preserve the rights of the minority, and he knows that they're going to be in the minority again.
Obviously, yeah, no question. I mean, could happen relatively soon, not next year, but it definitely, I think could happen in 3 years for sure.
Sure,
No
sure.
question.
Yeah, not next year, but it could happen in 3 years. Absolutely.
That's I mean, that's the thing is like, right, the Senate's all about the long game, right? I mean, these are people with 6-year terms. It's a institution with long historical memory, people who serve. It's not at all weird or unusual to serve for decades. So they know that, like, Donald Trump's there now, but Donald Trump won't be there for forever. Yeah, I mean, obviously yeah. If I were the Republican senators, I'd be very, very nervous about this. But I guess the thing is, John, isn't it a little unusual in parliamentary systems, even in bicameral ones, to have an equivalent of the filibuster where,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we don't have the Mr.
Yeah.
Smith goes to Washington thing anymore, where you,
Right.
even when Cory Booker did it, it was kind of fake, and he was doing
Yeah.
it to, but having to wear the astronaut diaper and piss in your pants or whatever you do.
Right.
But like, it's an unusual situation, right? To not have a simple majority prevail.
It is.
mean, and it evolved. It's not in our Constitution. It evolved over time. What are the pros and cons of having, obviously, minority rights? You can't run roughshod over the minority, and you want to have policies not just squeak through. You want them to be based on broader consensus than 50%.
Yes.
Right now, you can really see it, the importance of that.
And on the downside, in my mind, to tell you the honest to God's truth, I don't see a downside. It protects the rights of the minority. On the downside, it also leads to gridlock.
And obstructionism.
So there's that.
Right?
Obstructionism, sure.
Like, for example, it's true that what the Republicans were doing to Obama's judges was really wrong.
Yeah, it was. And what that evil asshole Mitch McConnell did by denying Obama his final Supreme Court nomination, the Democrats, it may take years, but the Democrats are going to get revenge for that.
Although, and I agree with you for 100%. But I also don't forgive Obama for kicking off to Martha's Vineyard while that was all happening. And just like, I'm good. See you later. Yeah. See you in 6 weeks. It's all fine. Whatever. Hillary will win. Remember?
Yeah.
You said that.
Oh, yeah.
Hillary will win. Mm-hmm. So it'll all be taken care of. That was the other thing, right?
That's right.
Like, I'm not worried about the election results. Easy peasy. We all woke up on election morning, and Nate Silver had her chances of winning at 90%. You could watch that.
I remember that 90%. I remember Nate Silver having to eat crow afterwards.
I can't believe that guy even still has a job after that.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the shit. Think about the shit you've got, you're getting death threats over that thing with the Pakistanis. I mean, Nate Silver, he really fucked up, and nothing happened.
He really did.
I mean,
yes, he did.
Let's talk about this judge. I mean, so today, I don't know if this may have even be happening while we're on the air right now, but this judge yesterday signaled that Indira Talwani does not believe the Trump administration's basically argument. They don't want to release the emergency funds. There's $5.3 billion that Congress set aside in case there was a problem paying out SNAP. Now, to be clear, that will not cover the month of November.
No.
It would. So the government was arguing that it would be a logistical nightmare. I'm like, really? You guys have trouble with pro rata? You guys can't say. So you guys don't know the arithmetic of 5.3 billion divided by whatever the normal number is thing equals such percent. And that's how much you get. I don't know if I trust this government to send people out to outer space. But okay, that said, they, the government was saying, well, it's only meant to be released as a supplement. But it's like an emergency fund isn't a supplement. So the judge is going to overrule. Will the administration ignore her or appeal to SCOTUS or?
Oh yeah, they'll appeal quickly, which is funny because they make no secret of the fact that they're trying to create a cutout to pay servicemen and women their salaries. Forget the poor people; they want the military people to get their pay. But yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be an issue, and that the administration is going to challenge it. They'll appeal either to the circuit court or they'll go straight to the Supreme Court.
And what will so I guess the question is that will the Supreme Court say this is an administration prerogative and they can do what they want, or will they? It's just so hard to say.
I mean, my position on feeding poor people, but I'm not sure that she has the authority to do this.
Okay, so I guess the next question is, I mean, of course, there's the broader question of if Congress allocates funds, do they have to spend it? We're out of time, unfortunately, but we'll know by Monday what's happening and what the results look like. For those of you who are facing this cut this cutoff. I'm very sorry, and I'm ashamed of our country. I just want to say that. Anyway, thanks everyone for liking, following, sharing the show. We're DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. We're here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Stay tuned. We will be. I'll be staying on the air with Manila Chan with the TMI show. We'll be having a special Halloween thing talking about America's love affair with horror movies. Thanks, everyone. Bye, John.
Bye,
Talk to you
everyone.
later.
Bye, Ted.